Welcome back to Ke Zaka Stokvel Insights, where we explore the world of stokvels and burial societies. Thabiso, before the break, we were just unpacking the concept underwriter in more depth. But what is the difference between an underwriter, an FSP, and a funeral parlor?
Okay, let's start with the term FSP, financial service provider. So a financial service provider is an authorized entity that's allowed to sell financial products. That's simply put. So an FSP is an organization that has a license from the FSCA that says you are allowed to sell these financial products, whether it's a funeral premium, whether it's collecting deposits as a bank and so on. So your banks, your insurers, and all of these things are FSPs. So your underwriter is a specific kind of FSP, which is an insurer. An underwriter is a specific category financial service provider that allows that organization to basically take premiums, risk premiums, to be able to ensure that they can pay the claims when the claims do come. A funeral parlor is, a funeral parlor provides a service, a burial service. So the evolution that's happened over the years is that funeral parlors have evolved from providing the actual burial service to providing financial products, and there are different ways that they do that. Sometimes they act as juristic reps for insurers and juristic reps for other FSPs, and that's the way it's supposed to be. So funeral parlors have evolved to providing not only the service, but to also providing the financial instruments that are provided by FSPs.
Looking at the other parts of the questions sent through by Ipopeng Burial Society based in Voslorus, the practice of using a group account as a funeral fund is quite common. So let's just talk about that a bit. What are the dangers, or what is the practice all about?
Yeah, it's actually become quite common as a practice. So what you find is stokvels and burial societies collect money on a monthly, and then they deposit it into a savings account. Sometimes they deposit into the savings account of an individual, which in itself has, huge risks. But once it's deposited into that savings account, it's then used to pay claims that would come in at a later stage. So if there's a claim that emanates from one of the members of the stokvel, they then fill in a form, and then 2 or 3 members, depending on who the signatories are, then go to the bank and make a withdrawal from that savings account to honor the claim from a person. So in that instance, there's no use of an underwriter, but then there's use of a savings account to pay those particular claims. And where the confusion lies is that when you ask a member of a stokvel, do you have an underwriter? Sometimes they say they do have an underwriter, with the understanding that the money that they have in the savings account is actually the underwriting, but in fact it's not the underwriting. An underwriter refers to a specific entity that's authorized to do that.
So does having an underwriter rather help reduce that risk?
Let's imagine that a group has 100,000 rand in a savings account in a bank, and they've got 10 members, but each member is allowed to insure 10 members. So you've got 100 lives that are insured, because each member, it's a group of 10 members, but each member is allowed to have 10 people under their name. So the insured lives is 100 lives, and they've got 100,000 rand. And then they sit down and make a determination that they should pay every claim at 10,000 rand. Now, 10 times 10,000 rand is 100,000 rand. Now, if you've got 100 lives insured, anything can happen. You can have, within a space of 1 month, 10 claims out of those 100 people. And those 10 claims would then wipe out whatever's in the savings account. And then the question becomes, what happens with claim number 11 when there's no money? And what we've seen with stokvels and burial societies who use this particular practice is that you then have huge fights in communities where people say there's a particular family that have claimed 4 times and their claims have been honored, but now we claiming for the first time and our claim is not being honored. And then suspicion of fraud, who stole the money and who did this, but it's all just based on the fact that you cannot use a savings account as a funeral fund.
Now, just looking at the costs factor when it comes to this, because obviously a lot of individuals try to run away from paying as much as possible. So what are the costs
Yeah.
associated with having an underwriter?
You know, there's a phrase that says, goedkoop is dierkoop. Afrikaans is tops. So the costs that are involved is what's called a premium. Now, a lot of people look at what a cheap premium would offer, but it's cheap for a reason. I think one of the things that we try to tell people is cheap is but one of the things that you should look at. So the cost in there is that you can't as a group sit and make a determination without any actuarial process that says, you know, we're going to give every member 10,000 rand from 100. So there's no calculation that's involved in that. So the costs that are involved is that the premiums invariably become higher. But once they are higher, they come with added security. So what having an underwriter does, it gives you that security that even though you get 10 claims out of those 100 lives that are insured, all those 10 claims will be paid. On your 12th claim, the 12th claim will also be paid. In the event that you get 90 claims, the 90 claims will be paid. And in that instance, I think the loser, if you will, becomes the insurer. The underwriter becomes the loser in that instance. But for Stokvels and Burial Society, it's the comfort that once we pay these premiums, our claims will be honored regardless of the number of claims that we have.
Using the group savings account is not the best option for Stokvels' financial status, and the risks are often too high. Instead of using the group savings account, it's often best to consider having funeral cover with a registered FSP with an underwriter. If you would like assistance with getting cover through an authorized FSP and underwriter, contact us. Our details will be on the screen. Now we will take a short break. Stay tuned for more on Ke Zaka Stokvel Insights.